Hello and welcome to the very first live episode of the Sorare Ramble. I apologise for all of the delays. It has been an absolute ball ache trying to get this stuff sorted out. But had a few audio problems, but hopefully they're sorted now. So hopefully everybody can see what's going on and you can hear us. So if you are in the chat, please just say you can hear us. But
I've just watched it. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, we're live finally. Apologies for the delays, as I said. Whatever. It will get smoother, hopefully. But, I'm an old guy trying to learn how to stream, and believe me, it is tough. Tried doing it again, and I was getting some ridiculous, audio from, 3 sources, but there was no sources showing, so I was getting, triple echo. But anyway, we're live now. But how are you, chaps? You okay?
Yeah.
Doing all right, mate. Yeah, good.
Nice.
Chris is on heaven, apparently.
It's been a while since we've been.
Chris is live from heaven, apparently. Looking at that,
We're exposed to the world now, aren't we? Dave's room's the tidiest it's ever been in 6 years.
Yeah. What happened there?
Have you noticed that literally the only reason that bed now where my daughter used to stay is clear is because my mum stayed before we were on holiday in the summer, so I had to literally turf about a ton of stuff out of it, so now it looks all shiny, but it still looks like a young girl's bedroom, so I probably need to do something about that. And yesterday I got something and then moved, so I don't know whether anyone actually noticed yesterday, but you could see my grundies drying on the bloody thing as well yesterday. So it wasn't a pleasant sight, although I don't think anyone noticed, so I probably shouldn't have said anything. But anyway, it's fucking Sorare 26, baby. Liverpool can't afford to buy their cards because everything is absurdly priced. Well, the prices have come down a little bit, though. I imagine with the instant sale, everything will jump up again over the next couple of days. Firstly, Ryan, we haven't seen you for ages, mate. In fact, we haven't been on for ages, so you probably were on the second to last show or something. But what's new in your life, mate?
Nothing much. No.
Nothing.
Been busy.
Bought a house, mate. That's quite.
I bought a house.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's pretty much taken up a lot of my time
and resources, I'd imagine, as well. Bloody expensive moving house.
Yeah, flipping it is. Oh my god, expensive, time consuming. The way they did it as well was an absolute ball ache too. So it was an absolute nightmare. Basically, got it all done within 3 weeks. Like from start to finish, it was nuts. I
mean, that's good to be fair. People have bought a house downstairs, and it's been 6 months, and they still haven't managed to move in. So
that's it. So because it's a new build, the developer decided you put a deposit down. So I think it was like a £1,000 reservation fee or something like that. Put it down May 27th, and then they decided about 3 days later that they wanted to try and push it through by the end of June, so they could put it on their Q2 profit margins. So then they recommended a solicitor that they work with to get it done, knocked a bit off the price for it, which was handy. But then it was a case of I got my mortgage offer. I think it was June 20th, because that was a whole ball ache in itself. But I got my mortgage offer June 20th, and then we completed June 27th. So it was, we exchanged and completed on the same day as well. It was a lot. It was nuts.
Nice. How long have you been in your house now, Chris? Is that you've been there ages, haven't you?
Yeah, I think this is the 7th year we've been here.
Yeah, I've been here 10 years. I just don't fancy moving. The thought of it just fills me with dread. It's painful. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about bloody Sorare. But Ryan, let's start with you. So you left Sorare back in the last season.
Yeah.
Stuff is in the mud. I think you needed to raise a bit of cash, didn't you, as well, to buy nice shiny stuff for your new house. But what was your impression of Sorare when you sort of called it a day, essentially?
I honestly thought that it was. I knew it wasn't going to go tits up, because I think it's so difficult for a company worth as much as Sorare to go tits up. You have to have some of the wisest decision making in such a short period of time. But I looked at it like Sorare data going was going to be a big problem for me at the time. which I don't think is actually that big a problem looking at it now. But at the time, I thought, yeah, Sorare data going is going to be a huge problem. And I also looked at it like they had to make certain changes. I didn't know what those changes were, but the core gameplay when I left back in May, I just couldn't see a world in where they could change it and make it still enticing to play. Like, no, seeing the changes they've made in the past, I think rightfully, I was very I think everyone was skeptical, but I was rightfully very skeptical. And then the first update they brought out, it looked like they completely killed Unique as well. That was the first, like, they're doing those teaser updates and telling you little bits here and there. We thought they'd completely killed Unique straight away, and I was like, my God, what have this? This is bad. This is real bad. But to be honest, like, I've been following all the updates, and actually, I think they've absolutely smashed it. To be honest.
Yeah, it's I have to say, I mean, we spoke about it last week, but it's been bloody impressive how they've rolled everything out. I think last season, they learned maybe by mistakes, dropping everything so quickly. And they dropped the amount if you remember last season, Ryan, I think we were both in the same situation and we weren't going to buy early. And then we saw the prices because so many cards were being minted so quickly. And we both thought, no, fuck this, let's get stuck in. Yeah. We both got cards. Now this season, they've spread everything out a little more. They've done like an incredible build up of all of the streaks. I mean, literally, I'm not going to go through everything, but there is a promotion for everything on there at the moment, and there has been over the last couple of weeks. And they spread everything out. The rare cards, they're not minting quite as many quite as quickly. They haven't got like 3 Saka. They didn't have 3 Sakas live, straight away and stuff like that. I just think that they've learnt by the mistakes from last season. Not necessarily mistakes because it was a learning curve. That's probably a little unfair, but what they've done is impressive. I think that not only the hot streaks, which I think it's fair to say that people will maybe this negativity will build up, but they weren't exactly amazingly positive over the MLS streaks, were they? To start off with, people were excited, but they were pissed off about the overall prize pools.
Yeah,
they weren't amazingly excited about the streaks in themselves.
I think in general over MLS, it just wasn't. I don't think people were that bullish. I think prices compared to prize pools just made people just not that interested. And once you get that sort of apathy, then even if you bring the streaks, just weren't. If they'd have done, how they've done like the I think it's like the 4 times hot streaks promo they've done now for MLS. I think maybe people have been a bit more bullish over it, but the fact that they was just the normal ones from the start, and also the prices seem to just be ridiculous, too expensive for what the rewards were. I think that's why it kind of did not seem like a great idea during MLS.
I think with MLS, you had to either get really lucky early on, like I did, winning first week, or maybe there's a small percentage of people have absolutely smashed it. I think Deke has smashed it because he's hit level 5 and stuff like that, and he just went down the route of buying the best cards. But that was expensive, and I don't know whether you've looked at the Prem prices, Ryan, but they're absurd, aren't they? It's mind blowing how much they're going for, but that could still be profitable.
Yeah, I've been keeping up. Well, I've actually mainly been keeping up with United prices more than anything, just because that's where I'm the most interested in at the moment is all the United cards. But yeah, I've been looking, and whilst I agree the prices do seem rather expensive, I think with what's on offer, especially the streaks promo and stuff like that, I don't think at the moment. I thought there'd be more, and that's without the promos. Before I knew about the promos, mainly because I know people have got. I know people don't have as much as they used to have in terms of what's the market credits. I know a lot of people lost their market credits, so that's probably had a bit of an impact. But I think it's always judging on last year, I think people were going to go hard on Premier League because there was quite a few people, myself included last year, yourself included last year, that bought early on and reaped massive rewards from it. And then a lot of people seem to get FOMO about 2 months in. And actually, we saw a bit more of a boom in price last year because people realized you know, getting a Bruno Fernandes for £600 and him then being a captain for sort of eight game weeks in a row and winning you way more than what you've earned, people saw that and started going straight in for Premier League cards, like sort of around the November, December time, which is usually the opposite. Usually that's when prices come down. So I think I was kind of expecting people to go hard at the start to try and get involved after missing out last year. So I actually thought they'd be a bit more expensive than they are now, but yeah, they are quite pricey.
They have tailed off a little bit. I'm just looking like, I mean, Bruno Fernandes was going for like £1,000, or one went for £1,000 anyway, sort of like 5 minutes ago, and now he's sort of more around the 700 mark. And when I say expensive, you're right. Like, you know, it's all subjective, isn't it? If you've got 10 grand to spend, maybe they're not, you know, expensive. But for me, this season, unfortunately, I don't have sort of like the cash to sort of go out and sort of splash. But I have built like a little couple of limited teams to have a little, you know, splash around within the sort of street market. But Chris, how are you, mate? You well?
I'm doing all right. I was just listening to that conversation. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it at the moment. I'm enjoying Sorare. I had a good result last weekend. I came 6th in Contender Limited. I was in 2nd until 92nd minute, and I lost a triple from Marcus Acuna for River Plate. So I went down from $500 down to 80, or 520 down to 84, 83, something like that, with the ceiling bonus. So I did weekend and then hit the second streak on top. But the streaks I'm loving. I absolutely love. I think it's, you know, like you said there, David, at the start, I think they've just nailed I just think they've nailed the game design now, because last year became like, it wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun game last year. It became a drag because you'd have a good game week and you might get close to 500 points. And, you know, especially in limited, you'd win like £3. And you're thinking, what, like, I'm wasting my time here, like, for nothing. And I'm competing on a leaderboard against all these other people, and, you know, the tail of rewards. Everyone was getting these tiny little prizes, and no one was happy about that in rare and limited. And I just think, I mean, the leaderboard prizes have been nerfed. Like, if you look at the leaderboards, the prizes there, for me, the game now is beating your score target. Is the hot streaks, and the leaderboards are a secondary benefit that if you do well one week, you're going to win that as well. But building teams each game week, looking ahead, having that motivation to scout a week ahead, a couple of weeks ahead, to build those lineups when you're on a roll and you're on a streak, that's what the game's about for me now. And if you think about it and kind of extrapolate it over a season, there should always be a demand for, like, you know, teams that have a good fixture run or players that hit form throughout the season. And that should, for me, last a lot longer. So I know we're seeing a high price of players at the minute because of the promotions, but I wonder whether we do get a longer tail of, you know, demand, because you're competing against yourself more than anything else now with the streaks. And that doesn't really change throughout the season. If you're on, yeah, we're in the promo, but if you get to 3rd or 4th streak in 3 months' time, you're still on 3rd or 4th streak in 3 months' time, and you still want to hit that and, you know, make sure you have the best lineup possible that week. So you're going to keep dipping out the market throughout the season based on form and based on fixtures. And I think that's you know, it is going back to the old threshold model, but just raising that bar of saying, okay, you don't just need a really low target. It's an accelerator. It's like a sale. You know, I work in sales. It's like an accelerator target where it keeps getting more and more and more, but the reward's there. And
but do you think some of the negativity from like the end of last season, it was as much down to prices as anything else? Yes, people didn't like winning sort of a quid or whatever for like $1 for winning.
Boring, wasn't it?
Yeah, the game became very monotonous.
Do you think people now understand Price is high at the start of the season for in-season cards. Price is low. You buy a card for $1,000 now, you might be able to sell it for $100 end of the season, and then you have to win, the money in between. Do you think people sort of like get that?
I think it's becoming a little bit more explained. I think Sorare have done a good job now of making cards feel like products rather than investments. That was something they've battled for years. And now I think finally, like, people are starting to get it now, where it's like, I'm buying a depreciating asset rather than I'm investing into Sorare. And that was when I first got involved. I literally got into Sorare under the impression that it was like an investment thing. Oh, I'm putting a bunch of money in, but this is going up. Like Web3 is exploding. People are like, this is massive right now. And obviously, we see how that works out. But I think now people are really starting to understand that actually I'm buying a product to try and like put it against other people's product to try and win money. And winning money, that's where I'm making my money back. I'm not hoping this card goes up. I think they've done a really good job of sort of detaching that the cards from the sort of investment tag. But I think the negativity mainly came from the fact that the game became very monotonous. It literally was the same thing every week. And don't get me wrong, like the dopamine was still there if you were winning a good prize. That's what kept people sort of going, right? Like, if you were getting bored of the game and all of a sudden your mind stack won one random week, didn't it, Chris? Like, and all of a sudden that's where the game feels decent again. Like all of a sudden now it's like that's what kept people going. But if you went through a month, 2-month period winning fuck all, winning £1 for a 70th place prize and stuff like that, it's just like that's where the game got very monotonous for people. But now with streaks and sort of the promos that they've brought out now, I think, and I do think they'll bring more stuff as the season comes on as well. I think they'll tweak things and change things. I think we could get to sort of February and people are still like, oh my God, I cannot wait to set my lineups this week and potentially go for this or go for that. Whereas we didn't really have that last season. And I think one of the big things last season as well was getting relegated. If you had 2 or 3 Div 1, that's what I struggled with massively last season. Was I had at one point 3 Div 1 lineups, and 3 weeks later I had 1 Div 1, 1 Div 2, and 1 Div 3, and it's like, and that I think was a huge problem too. So
you think like if someone gets relegated, like the hurt of getting a team relegated is offset by the fact you can still win the streaks no matter what division you're in?
I think so. Yeah, I think like Chris said, streaks have now become the main game, and I think that like the actual game is sort of secondary now. I think most people are going to focus on trying to hit their streaks and do their missions and stuff. But yeah, I think it definitely offsets that pain. For me, the main pain wasn't actually the relegation. It was the week after where your team inevitably performed well in a lower division and your prize is like a third of what it would have been the week before if you'd just stayed in Div 1. That was like the main issue for me. Like that's what I actually won Div 2, I think 3 times last season, and I would have won Div 1 all 3 times, but I just didn't have the Div 1 lineup, and it was just infuriating. So that I feel like now, if your team is at least getting a streak or performing in streaks, like it's gonna make it feel a lot less painful.
So when you like going back to like looking at sort of card prices, then so. At the moment, I had a quick look at your gallery. I didn't know whether you'd like dove in a little bit yet, and it's just essentially full of junk that you probably couldn't sell. I imagine when you were looking.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the buying point for you now? What's the like? Okay, I'm ready to go. That's it. I thought like when you said, "Oh, I'll come on this week," I thought, "Oh, maybe he's thinking about streaking first week." I suspect not now, but.
To be honest, the buying point is less about the price on Sorare and more about the amount I've got in my bank account.
Well, exactly the same for me at the moment. Yeah, I completely agree.
It literally just comes down to personal factors where, like, I'm waiting on payments for certain deals and things like that I've done and things like that. And that will probably determine when I buy in. And there's potential that I don't buy in for another month or 2 yet, because I just have a really I'm pretty autistic with my money now, and I can't go below a certain amount in case something happens and I need emergency money and stuff like that. So like I'm very now that I live alone and it's just me and I've got animals to take care of. I'm like very safe, so I won't dip into a fund yet until I've got enough over that.
Bang it on Klarna.
Yeah. Well,
Klarna deals.
that is an option. I mean, I've got a house now as collateral, so you know. No, I think I'll probably like there'll be at some point. I think we'll see. I'm not sure yet, but I do think there's a very heavy likelihood that I will be back buying cards. Hopefully in the near future, but we'll see. I mean, in my line of work, unfortunately, companies like to drag out invoices as long as they possibly can and things like that. So it's like, yeah.
The good thing you've got by waiting is you can wait 6 weeks and see what happens at the start of the season and who's doing well. And because it's, you know, we can sit here now and we could do a prediction of the league table like we did last year for the Prem, and we'll all get it wrong.
I mean, I thought Liverpool would do better than everybody was saying. Everyone was saying they were going to be shit. I think Ryan said Man United were going to win the league.
Did I?
No.
I don't remember saying that.
You both loved Crystal Palace, who, fair, got better as the season went on.
Yeah, they won the FA Cup.
Yeah. If only we predicted that.
I think we all said City would win the league, to be fair, last year, which wasn't a wild take at all, was it? I mean, that was probably what 95% of pundits would have said at the start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, as you can tell, and I didn't think we'd win the league, but I did think we'd do better than people were expecting. People thought, you know, Klopp going was going to be the end of the world, but he built a bloody good team, and the team was still like essentially all there. Yeah, there was a lot of contract drama, but yeah, and with the best will in the world, I didn't think we'd win the league. But like, if you like had to put your money on a team now that would do a lot better than expected in the Premier League, who would you go with? Because I had to think about this, and often there's like a standout. There's like, oh, I think they could do well. If we're comparing it to last season, I think we'd probably all say Man United, because surely they can't finish that low again. Like, but who else? Chris, who would you say?
I think Tottenham will do better this season, which again I don't think is difficult because they had a terrible season, so that's not a.
To be getting relegated,
season, and you know they've lost Son, although he wasn't amazing last season.
I also think, and this pains me a little bit as a Liverpool fan, but I think Everton have bought very well in the transfer window. I think they've made some good signings. Although I've just seen that Branthwaite's injured for them for a few weeks, which is a bit of a problem at the start. But
they bought Barry, haven't they? That striker from Villarreal, I think, is quite good. If you get the ground running, because obviously, who's the striker they let go of?
So they kept Beto, didn't they? Calvert-Lewin's gone.
Calvert-Lewin, yeah, who was a good striker. I mean, he was on the verge of the England squad, but obviously he got, you know, he just couldn't stay fit. It's all that sort of wild clothes he wears. But
Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, you know, Tierno Barry that they brought up front. I think
they'll be a solid team, won't they? They'll be like hard to beat, like a Moyes team again.
They've got quite a nice range of players in that kind of the three that they play behind the striker. You know, I think Alcaraz looked a good player towards the end of last season. McNeil's still decent, and the eyes, you know, been pretty good. So I don't like to say it, and you know they're going to a new stadium and everything else. Like I say, as a Liverpool fan, but I think they'll do all right. And yeah, I think Tottenham will be an awful lot better than last year. I actually think Sunderland might be okay as well. I think they've bought very well in the transfer window. I mean, they've really spent a lot of money, and you know they came up in the playoffs and they didn't get a huge amount of points, but like Granit Xhaka, I think is a good signing for them. I think the keeper's a good keeper to bought. I think they'll certainly stay up, and I think people will probably tip them to go down. I think they might surprise a few and stay up.
It's difficult to imagine any of them staying up, though. I mean, like, you know, Brentford, for instance, sold all their best players, got a new manager.
I think they're in trouble, Brentford. I think they're big.
Well, that's the thing. But then I read a piece the other day that was talking about like the players they're bringing in, and they're sort of trusting the process, and you know, he's expecting them to do as well as last season. I can't remember the name of the author of the article now, but
who they bought in Jordan Henderson, who's 36, 35.
Yeah.
Who else? I'm
Yeah, Brentford.
looking now. They've not bought anybody really.
They
Kelleher.
bought the lad from Feyenoord, but
Leody,
unproven. But
Fiorentina.
yeah, it's difficult. I suspect we're going to have sort of a fairly insane end to the transfer window. Obviously, the Isak stuff has still got to be resolved. And do you think he'll end up at Liverpool?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, I don't think there's any way back for him now at Newcastle by the looks of it.
I don't like the way that's, even if he does come to Liverpool now, I just don't like the way that
No.
sort of happened. It's just got ugly, hasn't it? But
it's kind of unnecessary to force a move like that, I think. But
I actually feel a bit sorry for Newcastle as well, because they sort of, were doing well last season. Obviously, they've got a bit more money to spend. They got Elanga tied up early. It was a great signing,
they're in the
and then
Champions League as well, aren't they? So
and then everything started going to shit. But
yeah, I think Brentford will struggle unless they bring in a good, if Wieser goes as well. I mean, they're after Wieser, aren't they, Newcastle? So they lost him as well. They're seriously in trouble from an attacking point of view. They've lost a lot of strength. They've lost their manager, who I think was a big factor in them doing well. They've lost Norgard to Arsenal, who was a big player for them in the middle of the park. Yeah, Henderson might be okay. He might be a settling influence, but you're talking about a 35-year-old Jordan Henderson who's been playing in the Netherlands and the Dubai or wherever Saudi for a year. So
yeah.
I think there's a problem there with them. It'll be interesting to see the other three. I mean, Leeds are a big side historically. So are Sunderland, and in terms of home support, they'll both have there won't be easy places to go to. I don't think either of those two sides. And then Burnley have got a lot of experience in the Premier League, but out of the three of them, I think Burnley are the weakest really on paper. I don't think they bought that well, and I think they're for me they're the weakest out of the three sides, and probably the worst set up to stay up. I think Leeds are a Premier League side in form, but again maybe haven't got the quality yet on paper. But I think at home Sunderland and Leeds will beat some teams, and I think they'll be better. I think they'll be better than the sides that went down last year, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird one. I just think that there's so much that's going to happen within the next sort of, few weeks before the transfer window closes. I mean, like, Edison, for instance, I just assumed that he would be like the keeper at Man City again. Now, obviously, there's always rumours about sort of like, clubs coming in for like the big keepers and stuff like that. But, with his distribution, he just suits like the way Pep plays. But Donnarumma coming in, I don't think he's like, I mean, he's a great keeper. Like in terms of shot stopper, he's probably the best in the world, or at least one of the best in the world. But his distribution has always been the issue, Donnarumma. It's not as good as someone like Edison, so I just don't get what would happen there. I mean, I found it bizarre that people were like, the price for Trafford cards were more expensive than Edison at the start, with people thinking that Trafford might start. I just can't see Trafford starting. Can you?
I think I was looking yesterday actually, and they were still near double what Edison's price was. But
I get it now. All the news with Edison potentially going to. Yeah, I think it was Galatasaray, wasn't it? But
which is a good move, in so rare terms. It's obviously a very good move. That so I can't see it impacts his price particularly negatively from where it is, because it's just pretty low, like you say. So I don't think it'll go down. But yeah, Donnarumma's a weird one. Like you say, I think he's a very good shot stopper, excellent at penalties, but distribution I don't think is amazing. And for the size of the bloke, I think he's a bit of a liability at crosses as well. I mean, he never wants to catch a ball. He punches everything. And you can kind of panic him a little bit with corners and set pieces. He flaps quite a lot, I always think, at crosses. So, yeah, I think he's probably a little bit overrated because he had such a big impact in big games last season. In the game against Liverpool at Anfield, he was phenomenal, and he kept them in the tie really, and then had the saves in the shootout. Obviously an excellent shot stopper, but I can kind of see why PSG have replaced him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. So like Chris, in terms of like your strategy for the season, like you are playing contender at the moment, contender limited, going after the streaks, which is going quite well so far. Any thoughts that you might jump into the Premier League? And you didn't really do it last season, did you?
I built a little budget Premier League side after speaking last week. I got a bit of not proper FOMO because it's real budget players I've brought in, but I thought let's try and get a starting five out as cheap as possible and see if I can fall into the first streak. And I don't need a lot to pay it off really. So it's mainly Forest based. So I've got Sells Classic, Murillo, Chris Wood, and then I've punted on Polina for Spurs.
Buendia, I think, like, because he was a bit of a forgotten man and obviously got loaned out last season to Leverkusen. Maybe he gets a move again. I don't know. I haven't really been tracking it so far. I know Villa haven't really been particularly active in the transfer market as of yet. Do you think he stays? I know he's been playing a lot in pre-season.
He's been excellent in pre-season. I think he started nearly every game, getting goals and assists, playing as a number 10. Again, it's just a lot of competition there. If Rodgers is fit, then he will start at the weekend. Ramsey looks like he's leaving, going to Newcastle, so that helps. Marlon's been very good in pre-season as well. So and McGinn's kind of solid and usually starts. So it's going to be a close one if he starts or not at the weekend. I've just picked up a Lewis Dunk this morning just as a real cheapie to fill that position if I think Buendia doesn't start for a couple of quid. So,
and Lewis Dunk's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I mean, he started pre-season as well, but obviously they've got Buscagli's there now, and also they bought Coppola, haven't they? The guy from Italy.
I think he started the first game. I mean, he's played he's played the last 3 pre-season games with Van Hecke, club captain. I think the other guys are coming in are kind of acclimatizing, so I think he'll probably start. But I don't know how long he'll stay in. But he's kind of a 1 week punt for a few quid to just see if I can keep that streak going.
And you've gone for a more expensive streak in Germany by the looks of it. So
I'm in the Bundesliga. Yeah, I've been into Bundesliga. So against my normal style of buying budget players, I've been flying into Leverkusen and Dortmund players, and I've got a classic Kimmich on 13% as well. So, which is kind of an auto captain every week. So I managed to pick up a Mark Flecken overnight, looking at getting either him and Kerbal from Dortmund. So I've got my starting team now for Bundesliga Street 1 is Flecken, Grimaldo, Kimmich, captain, Patrick Schick, and Ben Sabani from Dortmund. Who I'm going to see. I think the thing is I wanted to be in week 1, and then build a pretty solid lineup. They're all, I think they're 4 of them at home and in Dortmund are away at St. Pauli. If I hit the 360, which I realistically should, you'd think with that sort of lineup, I'm expecting prices will then dip sort of 20 or 30% downwards the second week, and then I can start building out a little bit more and picking up some of the other targets that I've got. But I either do that or I might look at a budget. I'm tempted to do a budget sort of second lineup as well, which is maybe looking at sort of Mainz and Gladbach and those sort of players that we knew from last season and going back to the well there because, again, I've got some good classics and I can probably build something in limited for, I don't know, 50 quid that's not a bad lineup. So that might be.
I haven't looked at the Bundesliga yet, actually, but maybe that is one I'll sort of touch on. I did play it last season, but not particularly successfully, I'll be honest. But
Nep annoyed me a bit last night.
Any particular reason, or just like he decided he annoyed you? It looks like we've lost Chris there. This is welcome to my world, but
Nep annoys me all the time as well. Don't worry.
But I don't know
Oh,
why.
he spent a lot more than that. I think he spent 35k since the start of Sorare 26. He's so bullish. No, Nep's quite a stubborn person, and what I've learned from knowing Nep for a long time, but also like I've watched streams when he's trying to bid for a player, like he will start bidding for someone, and as soon as he's put the bid in, he's winning that auction no matter what. Like it doesn't matter. So rather than like moving on to an instant buy that might be cheaper or like move it, he will just be stubborn as anything, and he'll make sure he wins that. So he'll overpay like crazy to win it. He will not lose that auction once he's put that bid in. So, but yeah, Nep's gone hard. To be honest, if I was getting in right now, that's the exact strategy I think is the way to go if you've got the funds for it. Is buy the best. I think that if you've got the money to, it's rather like almost professional gambling in the sense where if you've got the money to, you can afford to literally buy the win. I think like with how it's play against the game now, with streaks and stuff like that, like as long as you buy the best cards, I think you're almost guaranteed over the season to be successful. I don't know what the limit on that is, because the thing is that I think Nep's put in like 35k. I don't know. I don't know where the limit of funds is for rare, for example. Yeah, like I think at what point do you go into super rare? Because I don't know the ceiling for rare and how much you can actually make back. And then like before you have to move up to super rare to sort of get a return on that investment. I think is it I can't remember what it's called. Is it not that thing where you break the point threshold and you get, I can't remember what it was. But I don't know. To be honest, I haven't looked at Super Rare in a very long time. I thought they had that pot thing where you like break the. Oh, they got rid of that. Right. Yeah.
Spend it.
Go on holiday.
But that was going to be one of the questions I had for you, because that was like, I think we spoke about it last week, that the best thing to do is to max out entries in one, move on to the next one. But you FOMO'd into Premier League, so now you've got one Premier League. Although you're right, it's not the best team, but it could still hit targets. You don't know. And then you've gone into Bundesliga. So which is the one? And you've obviously got contenders. So which is the one where you'll try and max out for first? And what about Essence then? Because obviously Essence now is going to play a massive part to the game. I've seen people getting sort of like 10k limited. I haven't even checked on sort of like the bigger galleries. I'm sure that, they've been getting a huge amount. I'm sure I didn't check on McBride actually. I haven't watched his reward video yet, but I'm assuming he got quite a bit. I ended up getting 7,000 rare Essence last weekend. Managed to mint definitely one really usable card and part of a collection that had as well. So really knocked it out of the park there. It is tough getting the cards, and you do need to get quite lucky. Some people have been moaning over the fact it's like worse now. But for me, before, if I used to save up for 250 or even 500, the card I got often was not great anyway. So I'd rather sort of take a punt at the bottom level, and take your sort of lucky dip. And it does make for good content, doesn't it? I probably should have saved my Essence and done them on stream. I'll do that next week. But have you done any crafting yet, Chris? How much have you got saved up? So is it today that the champion cards get released, and then obviously not Bundesliga? That'll be next weekend, won't it?
So sorry, Chris is just not on the stream anymore, by the way.
Can people type in the chat? I did try and put him in there.
They have put in the chat. They have put in the chat. They can't. He's literally just. I've just clicked on the stream. He's just gone.
Welcome to our world, guys. I don't know what's happened. Chris, do you want to?
You're not even. He's not there anymore. He's disappeared completely. You have to quickly leave and rejoin.
Yeah, completely leave and rejoin. Listeners, welcome to our world. This is dealing with him. Honestly, his internet connection used to be an absolute fucking nightmare. So he'd literally cut in, cut out. So editing like the Sorare Ramble in the past used to be a real ball ache. But
he lives in Sheffield. You thought he lives in fucking, I don't know, fucking Ukraine or something with the internet he's got, constantly cutting out.
He needs to stump up. I told him to pay up for it, but he's
you can get good internet anywhere these days.
You can, but
I live in the middle of nowhere and I get great internet. Literally, my house is just in the middle of a bunch of farmers' fields and stuff like that, which I really like, actually.
Could the listeners actually hear him?
No, couldn't hear him or see him. He's just gone.
Bloody Chris. He hasn't even, what is going on with him? He hasn't even signed back in again. I don't know what he's doing. What about you, Ryan? Anyway, while we're waiting for the spanner cheapskate spanner to sign back in, if you get your payday from one of your things and you got a little bit of spare cash above your 100,000 that you like to keep in your bank account, for rainy days, what would you be diving into first? Would you be, because I know you're
it'd just be Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very bullish on Man United this season. I think that the signings we've made, if we get Belieber over the line, I like, with one game a week, way less rotation risk, I like United. And I think I would probably, the first thing I'd do is I'd go and buy a United stack. And then I'd probably, to be honest, I think if I was to run a strategy this season, I'd probably buy 3 major stacks. I'd probably buy United. The teams I think will be very good for SO5, I think, would be United, Chelsea and Arsenal. Obviously, Liverpool and City will both be fantastic too, but I think they're going to be more rotation risks, especially with the Champions League football and the fact that, with Liverpool, I just don't know where the goals going to be. They're going to be spread too much. I just don't know where they're going to come from. Is it going to be Ekitike? Will it be Isak when he signs? Will it be Vert? Will it be Gakpo off the bench? Will it be Salah? I think there's going to be so many goals spread now that I think it's actually going to be quite difficult to get the right 5 every week if you're running a Liverpool stack. Whereas last season, obviously, it was just Alisson, Trent or Van Dijk, McAllister or Gravenberch, and then it was like Salah, and maybe you want Luis Diaz, maybe you went Gakpo, maybe you went double defender for this
is part of the reason why I've sort of put off actually buying any sort of the Liverpool cards. I bought McAllister because I think, if he's fit, he starts.
Yeah.
Haven't bought anyone else. Ekitike for me is a striker.
Yeah.
I don't think he will end up playing on the left wing. People seem to think he's going to replace Luis Diaz if Isaac starts. I just don't think that's the case. I think those two will be the two that rotate. Yes, occasionally you might get one of them on the wing, but Gakpo will play left wing. And then there's the new lad coming through, Rio, who I think will get more and more game time this season. He's looked brilliant in pre-season. Yes, he could play there, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be a rotation risk between them. But Ekitike looked good last weekend. I thought Wirtz looked good without doing too much decisive stuff. But it's early days for him. He just feel a little bit lightweight for the Premier League for me. But we'll have to wait and see. I think United have bought well, but then I said United have bought well last season, and we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I think the trouble with United cards is I thought they would be underrated by people this season. However, they're still United, so they've got so many supporters that the prices are still high on So Rare. So it's difficult.
Always going to be like the most expensive non-top level cards. Always.
Exactly, yeah. So it's tough, sort of I thought maybe they would be a team that maybe I'd look to buy, but the prices just put me off sort of, buying them to start. I'd love a Bruno Fernandes because I think he, potentially could smash. And Buemo looked like he was taking sets in sort of one of the friendlies that I watched, or at least half the sets anyway from the left side. He's left-footed, isn't he? And then Bruno was taking them from the other side. So maybe that impacts Bruno scoring, but I think that they're potentially sort of, an interesting team to pick up. They certainly can't do any worse. And, they finished near the bottom of the table. Ryan, how many times did you win decent cash with them last season?
Quite a lot. I wish I still had Sorare data so I could go and see it. I think I paid about £600 for my Bruno Fernandes, and I think his return was like 3.7k. Not him by himself, but in all lineups he was in, it was like 3.7k, and I had two of him. I think I won Premier League Div 1 with a United stack plus Van Dijk, and that was when we played, I think it was Leicester at home. We won 3-0. So that was, I believe it was Onana, Mazraoui, Bruno, Ahmad, and Van Dijk, I believe it was. Or it might have been Van Dijk and Salah. I think I maybe gone 50-50 with that one. So I won a lot and we were dog shit. So, and that doesn't include all the European games where I won cash and stuff like that too. So yeah, I did very well last season with United.
Do you think they're going to be quite hard to predict in terms of who's going to score the goals? Because again, you've bought so well in terms of attacking areas. It's tricky, isn't it?
I think so. I think yes and no. I think Šeško will be if he scores, he gets 60 points kind of player. So you don't risk him. I think you if you're going to run a United stack, you run goalie, defender, Bruno, Cunha, and Buemo, because I think you get an AA there. However, if it was me, I would probably rather run 2 or 3 United players. I think I'd rather run Bruno and Buemo extra, or I'd rather go different goalkeeper, different defender, Bruno, Cunha, and Buemo. Like, I think I would split it up rather than running a full stack.
Is there any shout for Casemiro after he finished so well last season?
Yeah, he's done so, I think.
He's done.
I think he's out of the plans. I think he's been told he can leave. If we get Baleba in, that'll be very interesting.
Well, towards the end of the season, though, didn't he? And
he did. No, he did. But unfortunately, I just think he's out of the plans now.
I think it's hard. I mean, unless you're, juiced up on XP, 5% collection bonus, choose the right captain. It's always hard doing a full 5-man stack anyway, isn't it? And when you see leaderboards, and it was a bit like last week with Zagreb, and all right, I came 6th in the end, but I'd only got Misic from Zagreb, and everyone else around me was a full Zagreb, Dinamo Zagreb full stack pretty much. I think the guy that came second actually had a few differentials, and he was more like J League and K League and stuff. But it was just like, surrounded by them in the top 10 or 12, and I think it's hard to beat each other when you do that. Especially now with the added bonuses for not stacking and keeping under a cap. That can make all the difference, can't it?
I've got a 4% Zagreb rare collection now, and even then, I'm not sort of like I'm not generally full stacking them. Just because
I don't like their attack too much. I think they're kind of similar. Obviously, I've got River, and their defense is incredible. The two centre backs and the right back and the keeper are, any of them are a good combo. I think you could do two defenders and the keeper, and then Misic looks very, very good this season if he's going to be on pretty much all set pieces. But the forwards, I think you just chuck in a classic forward probably is the play, isn't it? If you're going to do that. Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I think that it's essentially a new forward line, isn't it? Like the guy that's come in, the young lad that's come from Bayern Munich will come back from Bayern Munich. Then they've got Belgio or whatever you pronounce them, and the other guy as well. Essentially, like it's a new forward line. I think it's going to take a bit of time for them to gel, but I think that they could do quite well. But
I like them, but I don't think any of their. I mean, if you compare their forwards to like a Brunetta, for example, or a Cecina or something, I don't think any of them are like 100 capable forwards. I think they're all kind of 60 to high 70s generally. I mean, yeah, on a good day, one of them will score a hat trick or something, but they don't seem like they've got the AA, any of them, to be a real top level forward in
Yeah, I mean, you could be right. I mean, I've only got one of them, and that was the one that I've got two of them now. But yeah, they're not necessarily the first choice they're putting lineups at the moment. But
yeah, either that or you use a classic spot as a, in your midfield, don't you, for contender, and you run two midfielders, maybe with Misic is the other way, and you do use one of their forwards, but you maybe have a differential in the midfield. And there's just such a plethora of options in contender, isn't there? The top level, Shaqiri and Barco, and some of the guys in Mexico, Canales and stuff. So there's a lot of options in contender.
I'm going for my third streak this weekend. Annoyingly, I didn't foresee this, but the Bundesliga 2, obviously they take a break this weekend because it's the Cup, isn't it? The first week before the Bundesliga comes back. So that has left me with a bit of a hole, which I had to fill. So yeah, but I'm going for the third streak, which is $200, I think, for the third one. So, decent money if I can get it, but it's not ideal matchups. As I showed you the other day, a lot of my cards are away from home, and even the decent cards are not in great matchups this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the third one for limited, which is 50, and I was thinking this is a really good game week for me, but the trouble I've got is that it's Copa Libertadores season again, so they rotate a lot between there's one match this week and then one next midweek, and River play tonight as well, and they're struggling defensively. So it looks at the minute like Paulo Diaz won't play at the weekend. He's not in the predicted lineup. So neither Sosa for Racing. It's like Racing are predicted to rotate virtually the whole 11 from what I've seen. So it could be a nightmare with DMPs and you don't really want that for streaks. It's not going to be very helpful if you get one of your, Sosa or Diaz as probably the best scoring defenders in those teams are.
Hashtag when subs.
Well, yeah.
But last weekend, I had so many decent lineups crushed by one DMP. And it's not like a DMP where I was taking a chance. It's a DMP that was just completely out of the blue. Some of them where transfers were announced or like rumors of transfers were announced after the deadline. It's just, complete ball ache. Ryan, you said before, you wished you could check Sorare data. Do you think Sorare have got enough so far on there to sort of match? I mean, obviously it's not going to be anywhere near as good as the depth and the information you could get or as ease of use of Sorare data. But do you think they've got enough on there so far that they've introduced a few things like top players? So in the game week now, you can see your top players and all top players in that game week at a glance, which is definitely a nice addition. I still find it a little bit funky for sort of looking at teams. It's a little bit slow on mobile, which is where I check most of my teams. Like during the weekend, I don't sit at my desktop like tracking stuff.
That's because you've still got a Nokia 3310 though, isn't it?
I've got a brand new phone, but it's still bloody slow trying to do it. But I don't use the app either. Maybe I should try using the Sorare app now. I don't know whether that's improved.
For me, what I used to do a lot, and like I was still doing it even after leaving, was I would go onto Sorare Data, I would go onto the game week page, and I would just have a nosy at how certain teams have done, how certain players have done, like,
and how your mates have done as well. Like, just
exactly.
Log in and see what you're winning. Yeah.
Literally, I'd just scroll through the page and I was like, oh, Bayern played. They won 4-0. Let me see who scored 100. Let me see if Bayern stacks are smashing it this week. Like, oh, Elise scored 100, Kimmich scored 100. Bayern guys are doing well. Like MLS, I would keep it with the MLS scores that way. Like I used it as more than just a Sorare tool, but like a football tool. And that's the sort of things that I was missing really. That being able to like have a nosy at what I know you can see managers transactions and stuff like that, but like it was just a lot easier. I felt like to go on to like Nep's page and see what Nep's doing and see what he's up to, see what he's lined up this week and things like that. So it's like, yeah, I think just stuff like that really. I think they're doing a good job trying to replicate different features. And I don't there's no disrespect to them whatsoever. I think they're doing their best. It's just not the same for me, but it's something that I can get used to. I can live with it,
Yeah, I think the main thing, like I've listened to Tulga and Andrew streaming, I can't remember, I think it was last week, and like some of the stuff he's spoken about then in terms of like the top players in the game week is now live. Like the community side of it is the thing that I think he's missing at the moment. Like I used to love going in, I could sort of like group a load of managers, just us two, and we were playing, and just immediately go in, see what lineups we're playing, see what players we need to sweat. So I could sweat, if all my lineups were dead, I could sweat Chris's lineup in, Bundesliga, whereas I can't do that now. I can't, it's difficult to sort of find your lineups. I need to go into the competition, then have a look, search through the leaderboard to try and find them. There needs to be sort of an easy way where you can sort of like build groups of friends within there, and you can sort of have those sort of like mini game week centers where you can just go in and see how everybody's doing compared to each other. But I'm sure they're working on all this stuff.
That's one of the, like you say, I think that's one of the aspects I miss. I always used to do that. Start of the game week, as soon as, there'd be a bit of a lag for half an hour or so, wouldn't there? And then the lineups would start pulling through onto the Sorare Data app. And I used to enjoy looking at what other people had put together and looking at other people's lineups. And like I say, it's quite fun that, because you'd have a little bit of an insight into how other people were playing the game and thinking and stuff like that, and see if there's anything you might have missed. And I do think that was interesting. Whereas, like you say, now you have to. It's like a very manual process, isn't it, to do stuff like that?
It is. I think Ryan's got to shoot off, hasn't he? So
yeah, I've got to shoot off, lads. I enjoyed it. Nice to be back. Hopefully back next week as well.
All right, mate. Keep an eye on those United prices, and hopefully you get paid.
Take care, everyone. See you later.
See you later, mate. Yeah. God, it's a bit of a ball like when people leave, they're having to readjust everything within the bloody system again. But there must be an easier way to do this. But anyway. So, yeah, I guess like in terms of like building that sort of thing, I think that should be a priority for them in terms of like game week center and stuff like that. So you can easily go in and sort of like, group communities and stuff like that. So I could build like the Ramble Discord to put everybody's names in there and stuff like that, their manager names, and then you can just easily see and sweat their lineups with them and stuff like that without having to wait for people to sort of like post lineups and stuff like that. But what else would you like to see improved? I know that they have improved sort of like tracking prices and stuff like that, but I still find it a little bit clunky.
I think it's, obviously with my Sorare Inside hat on, there's kind of a balance of what you think should be on the third party site and what should be on the core site. So it's difficult. I think the ability to draft lineups is something that still everyone's missing. It's good that they've opened it up a bit more now, and that you can kind of look at future game weeks a bit further ahead than you could previously. But I think something that a lot of people enjoyed doing was drafting different lineups and having, 2 or 3 different drafts in the week and playing around with stuff. And it's difficult to do that now on the core site. And this will be one of the first game weeks that I've got this weekend with a fairly decent number of teams back, because I've really only had 3 or 4 lineups each week over the last probably 6 weeks or so. So since last season, this is the first time I'll have kind of had a look at things, and yeah, it's whether that ends up being Sorare inside, and I mean the import button, the button that was introduced on Sorare Data was a big game changer for them. Having all the stats available off site, the match odds is massive to me when I'm putting players into a lineup. At the moment, I'm checking on Sorare inside, and I'm checking on Bet365 for match odds and goal scorer odds and things like that.
Having that lineup builder was pretty useful before, wasn't it? But
yeah, exactly.
I know, like Gary Brown has just put in the chat as well. Biggest problem is you can't see the current price of your cards easily now, and that's definitely one I used to use Sorare Data. I'd go in there, and if I needed to raise some money, I'd click sort by last sell value, and could go in there and quite easily, like when you sort by price, I did it earlier in the thing. I don't know, it just brings up some really weird sort of like order and stuff like that. But I used to do that on Sorare Data, and it made it a hell of a lot easier. Then I thought, oh, that guy looks like he's overpriced. I don't really use him. I might as well sell him. And then you just stick them up on the market, and it's a lot harder doing that now.
So there's actually, I don't know if you've spotted this or not. I know you use Sorare inside, but in the last couple of weeks, we've actually got a gallery feature now on the website. So it is in, I would say beta, but beta maybe at the moment. So we're just refining it. But if you click onto the menu bar on Sorare inside and onto gallery, it does have a breakdown there of the gallery value of your cards, and it also has the floor price and the last 5 sales average. So if you're struggling,
you sort by, sort at the top.
Yeah, you can sort by as well.
Highest floor price. Oh yeah, that's quite good actually. Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same as what was on Sorare inside, to be honest. But it's something What have you spotted?
It still brought up some rather funky ones. Like it's got a guy that I've got sealed in the thing is like the highest floor price.
I mean, I guess if someone hasn't, if everyone's sealed a player, and then some idiots put them at 100 quid for a 30p card, then it will show that as the highest floor price. So it's
Allison player, last 5 sales, €200.
Not bad.
Haven't they signed another striker? The thought is that he would replace him, but
I don't know actually. Yeah, I've got a classic player in limited, but yeah, it's something to have a play around with, and it gives you, when you log in as well, it actually will have the gallery value of your whole gallery at the top.
And I don't believe that gallery value at all, because I think last time I checked on Sorare Data before it stopped was about 13,000 or something like that, and it's saying 26,000. So I'm not entirely sure where that value is coming from, but as you said, it's probably a few funky cards where people have got them listed at sort of absurd prices. But
yeah, and the other thing I'm not certain about, which I'll check, is if it's splitting out in season and classic, because again, if you've got an Allison player classic, obviously his price is going to be significantly less compared to the in-season version. So I'm assuming it is taking that out, but don't know 100%, as there's not really I don't think there's an option. Oh no, there is. Sorry, yeah, I lie. There is. There's a on the right hand side. There's an in-season cards only and a classic cards only option. So yeah, it should be working correctly actually in terms of that. So I'm doing our developer Ricardo credit there.
I'm just having a look. I don't know why I've got a floor price here for one of the guys of an absurd floor price. Whether that's just a mistake or whether somebody has actually listed a card for a ridiculous amount. Let's have a look.
I have found, I don't know if you found this at all when you're searching the market. I have found in the last couple of weeks that since ceilings come into play and, you've got a lot of
someone's got Jermaine James listed.
Yeah.
He's a guy, I don't know where he is now, but he's a red X. Someone's listed it for Santonio.
Antonio. Yeah, he's one of the bots.
He's got him listed for 7K, that's probably what's throwing off my gallery because I've got two of them.
Probably is, yeah. If it's taking off floor value, it is. But yeah, I'm finding that some cards are quite scarce now when I'm looking for cards on the market. And that's even in limited. I was looking for a Canales the other day, and I ended up having to pick up a 2% one because there was just the other two were 0%, and I wanted him for this game week. So, maybe it is having a bit of an impact on the market with the better cards that some are being sealed. Maybe some are being used in a lot of different competitions. I'm not sure, but yeah, there just seems to be a bit more scarcity maybe in the market, even on secondary. So
Jamie Eddy asked a while ago as well, how do you think Sorare are going to do the European competitions this year? I think it's fair to say they weren't particularly successful. How they did it, I wouldn't say not successful. I mean, they were exciting if you had collections of teams, although, obviously later in the competition, they wouldn't let you run full stacks. So, it just made it painful. Later in the competitions, when there's only a few teams left, you're only likely to have full stacks unless you've got like thousands of cards. So, I think they've even said in one of the streams or in one of the information drops that they are going to rework the European competitions this year. Any thoughts on how they might actually do them?
Difficult. I mean, it could go one or two ways with it. I suppose they could either split it and have the game week split into different days by when the matches were, which they tried a little bit last season at points, or they go the other way with it and they open it up to kind of blend in the other competitions with the Champions League. But I think that's kind of not the best way because you get a lot more in the early rounds, kind of mismatches in the Europa League and the conference where, you don't probably want the Europa and conference, lower teams scooping the big prizes. I think you probably have to keep the Champions League in a competition in its own right, but it does need to be exciting in some way, whether that's, I don't know, maybe they have a regular capped competition as well as a free-for-all.
Well, they did have a cap, didn't they? I think last season they had a cap Champions League.
Yeah,
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I guess last season it wasn't ideal. For me, the cards I'm buying are never likely to sort of feature them. In fact, I'm deliberately trying to buy cards that haven't got European football purely for that sort of lack of rotation problems generally during the weekend. That said, I bought a Dinamo Zagreb stack, which is going to be hell once Europe starts. But
yeah, I think the Thursday night ones are even trickier. I think the Champions League ties being on a Tuesday and Wednesday, you've probably got enough time often at the weekend to rest players or know what's going to happen, and those games will usually be moved to a Sunday if they play midweek. So I think I think some of the players. I mean, I'm thinking of like Bayern. Kimmich will play every game virtually as long as he's fit. And there's certain players you can kind of hang your hat on and say they will play, and certain teams that probably rotate less. But yeah, Zagreb will be a bad one. Dinamo, City would be terrible. Liverpool probably not amazing. Although last season's slot really didn't rotate that much compared to what Klopp had done previously. So maybe Liverpool isn't as difficult as some other teams actually. But City are always going to be bad. We know City will be bad, and it's just I think it is again then knowing your teams. Like Jamie's a Spurs guy, and Spurs were horrendously bad under Ange last season, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to rotate as much this year, I suppose.
They've got some interesting cards as well. Like Kudus as a Ford card is interesting. people paying quite a lot of money for Cherky at the moment. Cherky, don't get me wrong, brilliant player, but he's a midfielder card. I think that destroys his value. Like the amount of possession lost that he has, although I'm sure Pep will be trying to crack down on that, but could kill his sort of AA. But all of these things remain to be seen. But I think Kudus as a forward card is quite interesting. But yeah. Anything else you want to speak about this week, mate, before we get out of here? It's been a chaotic first stream, but hopefully we'll get better.
Yeah, just a little pump again for Sorare inside. We've had the merger for anyone who's been living under a rock the last few weeks. Predictify is no longer, and we've merged with what's Predictify? Something from many moons ago.
All about Sorare inside, always.
So that's gone well, and most users, I believe, have migrated across now. But if you haven't, then please go onto the Predictify website. There is a guide there of how to link your account and set up your account on Sorare inside, and there is also on our X account. So if you have a look on X on either Predictify or Sorare inside account, and follow the links there and the instructions to transfer your existing Predictify subscription across, you will retain any remaining days you had on your sub, and then get 30 days free as well on top. So it's a really good sign-up offer. We've been in the process of taking over a lot of the former predictors of clubs and leagues over to be Sorare Inside experts. So a lot of the people that you'll recognise, McBride, Sorare Bundesliga, Sorare Seoul, and a number of others as well. We've basically cherry-picked the best people to come across with us. So we've been doing that, and we're sort of refining that. And I think by probably the end of next week, we'll have a pretty settled list of experts from both sites, and combine the best to kind of try and improve the accuracy and the service that we offer. So and like we said about the gallery feature, literally every week at the moment there's new features on the website. So we're trying to add value as much as possible and become the real the go-to third party site to offer kind of support and help for your building of Sorare lineups each week, and that'll continue. So we're just working really hard to keep improving that and keep iterating as weeks go on.
Perfect. Okay, mate. Before we get out of here, I've got one spin on the wheel. How's your wheel success been? Any good?
I've had a lot of misses today and yesterday.
I'm getting a lot more misses than before, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've had loads of misses yesterday. Maybe today it will be different.
Why don't you do a live spin on air?
I'm doing it, yeah. Oh, it's not a miss. 25 essence. Better than a hoof in the clackers. Better than a miss. Not as good as a respin, but haven't hit any sort of like massive ones yet. You? I'm not getting many clues now at all either. Literally, I can't remember the last time I had a clue.
I tend to get either miss again, miss, spin again, essence or XP, and that's it. I did win some market credit the other day, but it was like the lowest one, whichever, £1.80 or something stupid. But I haven't hit on the first spin when we had the boxes. I think I got about £8 or £9 out of those free spins straight away, which was all right. But yeah, I've seen a few people have hit the top market credit. I know our friend Neil had absolutely destroyed that. I think he broke the wheel. I think that's why I had to change it. He told me that he'd made about £400 out of it. So somehow, but some people did very well initially.
Nice. Right. That's everything from us this week. We should be back next week, hopefully on time this time, if I can actually not have the problems I had today. But hopefully Chris won't go disappearing and go ghost on us again. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.